Hi, friends. Today I'm going to read you a story called The Legend of Spookley the Square Pumpkin. Here is the cover of our book. That's the title, the words The Legend of Spookley the Square Pumpkin. And here's the picture. Now, the picture on the cover of a book always gives us a clue as to what the book might be about. So looking at the picture, you see this pumpkin and it looks like it's shaped like a square. It's growing on a vine and on the plant, just like we learned about how real pumpkins grow. And I see a yellow flower, but I'm noticing that this pumpkin has a face. So I'm thinking that this story is not about a real pumpkin, but a make-believe or fantasy pumpkin. I'm thinking that this might be our main character who the story is about, but we're going to read to find out. So let's start reading The Legend of Spookley the Square Pumpkin. The author is Joe Troiano. He wrote the words in the story, and the illustrator is Susan Banta. She drew all of the pictures. One day in the pumpkin patch, the strangest little pumpkin hatched. Spookley wasn't like his friends. Where they had curves, he had ends. Spookley was different. He was odd. He was rare. Spookley the pumpkin wasn't round. He was square. Okay, look at the picture of the pumpkin patch on the farm. There's a barn, so I know that this is a farm. Can you find which pumpkin is Spookley? He is. We know this is Spookley because he's square. All the other pumpkins are round and curved, but he has straight edges, so he is a square. Let's look at his face. How do you think he's feeling? I think he's feeling a little sad because he looks different than the other pumpkins. While the round pumpkins had fun rolling along, poor Spookley sat there, shaped all wrong. He tried and tried with all his might, but he couldn't budge. He just sat tight. So all the round pumpkins are rolling and having fun because objects that are curved and round can roll, but objects that are square with straight edges cannot. He can't move. He's stuck in one spot. The other pumpkins teased him because he was square. Spookly wished he was round and could roll everywhere. So now we know that Spookley is feeling sad. He's feeling sad because he can't roll with the other pumpkins, and they're teasing him or making fun of him for being different. It's not a very kind thing to do, and it's making Spookley feel sad. That is until one night when they all discovered it's fine to be round when the weather is fair, but there are times it's better to be a square. Let's find out why. Halloween was just a day away when a mighty storm blew across the bay. Here is the picture of the storm. The gray clouds mean rain is coming. It tossed the pumpkins to and fro. It snapped their vines, then off they'd go. Bouncing left, slamming right, banging, bashing, what a sight. Spookly sat there filled with fright, but glad to be a square that night. So the storm is bringing lots of wind, and all the round pumpkins are rolling in the wind. But remember, Spookly is square and he can't roll. He's stuck in that spot. I think he's happy right now. Let's see. Suddenly, the fence gave way. Three pumpkins rolled out into the bay. Oh, there's the broken fence. And the pumpkins fell in the water. Uh-oh. Spookly knew what must be done. It was up to him. He was the one. He teetered, he tottered, he tipped, he tried. He finally flipped. He was on his side. So it took a lot of work, but Spookly flipped himself on his side. Again he tipped, again he flopped, again he flipped, And then he stopped right in the gap where the fence had snapped. He blocked the way. The hole was capped. So Spookley got himself out of the vine and pushed himself in front of the hole in the fence. All the pumpkins shouted, "Hooray! Spookley the square pumpkin has saved the day." Then a pumpkin, then the then a pumpkin hit him with a whack. He thought his shell would start to crack. Then another one hit him with a thump, and another one with a smack. So all the pumpkins are rolling again, and they're bumping into Spookley. But he's standing in front of the hole, so they're not going to fall into the bay. A good job by Spookley. Then one by one, a ton of pumpkins piled on the stack, with a bang and a bash and a crunch and a crash, and then it all went black. So the storm has rolled all of these pumpkins against the fence, but they're Spookley, hiding the hole in the fence so the pumpkins will be safe. At dawn, when the storm had stopped, and Farmer came out and checked his crop, he picked his pumpkins up one by one and laid them out in the warm, dry sun. And when the last was moved away, the farmer could see what had saved the day. An odd-shaped pumpkin, short and dense, was wedged against the broken fence. There's Spookley, and he saved the day. Its shell was bruised, and its stem was too, but there was brave little Spookley, sitting straight and strong and true. Right then and there the farmer knew, of all the seeds he'd ever sown, Spookley's was the most special that had ever grown. So even though Spookley is different and the pumpkins were laughing at him in the beginning, now he's the hero because he saved the day, and the farmer thinks he's the most special pumpkin that he's ever grown. And the next year, when it was time to sow, he sowed those seeds in every row. He watered and weeded and watched them grow. So the next year, the farmer took Spookley's seeds to plant new pumpkins. And oh, that morning, mid-June, when the pumpkin patch began to bloom, there were tiny pumpkins everywhere, hundreds and hundreds, and most of them square, because they came from Spookley's seeds. But some were cubes and some were rectangular. So there's a cube-shaped pumpkin, a rectangular-shaped pumpkin. Some were flat and others triangular. There was a bed of bright red ones and 2 rows of blue. There were polka dot pumpkins and rainbow ones too. There were thousands of colors and hundreds of shapes. Oh, what a garden variety makes. So Spookley's seeds were planted and all of these pumpkins grew, and they are all very different, just like Spookley was, right? They're not all round and orange like the pumpkins we know. Now, every year on Halloween, Spookley's patch is quite a scene. People come from far and near to see what wonders grew that year. They stop, they gawk, they gaze, they stare. They then they pick a pumpkin that's round, triangular, or perfectly square. So look at how happy the children are picking their different pumpkins. Oh, I see Spookley in the pumpkin patch. Now you know the story of how Spookley grew. Maybe someday you'll tell someone too, and they'll go tell someone who'll go tell another, and maybe one day we will all discover you can't judge a book or a pumpkin by its cover. So in the end, we learned that it's okay to be different, and it really what matters is what's on the inside. And Spookley was kind and saved the day and made all the pumpkins realized what a good pumpkin he was, even though he was different. Yeah. So let's go back to the cover of the story when we thought that this would be the main character in the story, and we were right. This book was all about Spookley the Square Pumpkin, and we learned that even though he was different, he was kind, and that's what matters most. I hope you enjoyed that story, boys and girls. Great listening.